Hey guys, I hope you're doing okay today. Today is our second day of notes for Unit 5. And so the first day we talked about really pretty much vocabulary, similar figures, congruent figures, corresponding sides. And so we're going to now use what we know about similar figures to find missing sides of shapes. So let's get started. I'm going to start actually with the definitions from yesterday. Why? So that you remember them, because you're going to see them on the test and you're going to just need to know them just to kind of understand this concept. So it says similar figures have the same, what do you think? Same shape. Remember the squares we talked about yesterday? So they're going to be the same shape. I can't have a circle and a triangle and call them similar. I can call them shapes, but they're not similar shapes. But if I talk about similar shapes, they're not going to be the same size. Very good, the same size. And we use that example again. We started out talking about the smaller square and then making it twice as big. All right, so they were similar squares. They have, okay, now listen carefully to this. They have proportional. So now you're hearing vocabulary from Unit 4. They have proportional sides, and what do you remember about the angles? That's right, they're exactly the same, but there was a fancy word for it. It started with the letter C. Do you remember it? Congruent. All right, you want to remember these words. Congruent. All right. So you definitely want to remember this, and you definitely want to remember this. All right. So we're going to use what we know about similar figures to find missing sides. And the missing side we're always going to note with the letter X. You could usually use whatever letter you wanted, but I don't know why. We always just seem to use X. So let me show you how this works. So if we know they are similar, okay, we have to know that, and all of these are similar, then we can do what we're about to do. We can set up a proportion, because a proportion, remember, is just a one ratio compared to another ratio. And so if we know that they're similar, then we can do what we're about to do. So watch this. I'm looking for X. These rectangles look like they are just side by side. They don't look rotated or flipped or anything crazy like that. So I'm going to show you something cool you could do. And this works on most of the similar shapes that you'll be dealing with. I can literally put a line here and a line here. And literally, I've set up the two ratios. They're already set up for me. I just need to write them down as a proportion. So I have 30 over 25. And it is equal to X over 15. All right. Now, at this point, I'm going to do what? What do we always do with these? That's right. We cross multiply and divide. So if I cross multiply the 25 and the X, I have 25X. If I cross multiply and divide the 30 and the 15, I don't know what 30 times 15 is. Let's go ahead and do the math. 15, 3, 450. So far, so good. Now, what do I do next? What have we been doing for 3 or 4 weeks now? Bingo! We're going to divide, cross multiply, divide. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, and then again, you have to say, well, how many times is 450 going to 25? If you're not one of those lucky kids that get a calculator this year, you'll get one next year. Thank you very much. 25 goes into 4 0 times. 25 goes into 45. Uno. So I subtract 25. I've got 20 left over. I bring down the 0. 25. Now, some of you know this. If you think about $2 and a quarter, how many quarters are in $2? Now you understand money. There's 8 quarters. So that's 8 times 25 is 200. So I am done. So guess what that missing side is? It's 18. It's not just 18, it's 18 meters. All right, wasn't that easy? All right, now the next one's not as easy just because it's a shape. It's not like two shapes side by side. It's a shape and it's been rotated and flipped. So you have to be a little bit more careful. But again, it's not anything we can't accomplish. We just have to be more careful. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, let's see, what goes with the 14? It's got to be the X because they're both on the outside. So let's just call this number 1, which means this is number 2. Well, then that would mean the X is number 1 and this is number 2. Now that might help you in setting it up because we don't want to screw it up. So let's do the 1 over the 2. So 14 over 20. And then that would be, let's see, X over 60. Now, if I hadn't done the 1 and the 2 and kind of matched that up in my head, I probably would have screwed it up. So there's other ways you can do it, other ways you can match them up, but you have to match up the easy parts and then fill in the rest, okay? So I pretty much knew that the 2 outer sides were the corresponding sides. Let's keep going. All right, cross multiply 20x. 60 times 14. I have no idea. I'm going to go the other way around because I like the 60 on the bottom. Less math. Put a 0 there. Okay, 6 times 20, 6 times 4 is 24. 6, 840. What do I do after I cross multiply? That's right, I divide. So let's do it. Divide by 20, divide by 20. X equals 84 divided by 2. Remember top in the box? Are you having a good time yet? There we go, 42. And it's not just 42 because there's a little m behind it. It's 42. Well, and we'll just assume that's meters, but I really don't know. It just says m. All right, we're rocking it. We are rocking it. Let's keep going. And again, this shape is one of the harder ones. So just so you know, we throw out the harder ones so that you can see easy, hard in your notes. All right, let's look at this other one. No, okay, now this one here always messes everybody up. What we have here is a triangle on top of a triangle. So a lot of times I recommend to students to just separate the 2 triangles, all right? So what do we have here? We have this one triangle here. It's obvious that's an 8 by 6. But what about this bigger triangle? I can see that the bottom is X, but do I know what the side is? The side is this whole side. So it's this plus this. It is adding those 2 together because it's the whole side. So that whole side is 12. All right. Now, do you remember what I did with the lines when on this one above here when they were kind of both side by side and they're not flipped or turned or rotated? We can do the same for these. I'm going to just go ahead and put a line here and a line here because, you know, it works for my brain. I hope that's helpful for your brain. So I already have it set up. 8 over 6, 12 over x. And then what do? We cross multiply and divide. So we have 8 times x, and 6 times 12 is 72. And then we divide both sides by 8. X equals 9. So that is the side. There's no units, so we're just going to be happy with 9. 9 what? I don't know, but it's 9. All right, so you got to be careful. So we have the one shape laying on top of another shape. Pull them apart. All right, now let's look at this next one. It's 2 triangles, which is kind of great because they're not rotated or flipped or anything weird. But you do have to be careful with what sides you pick because there's some extra numbers here. If I want to find x, I definitely have to use the 15 because they correspond. Then I have choices. I could use the 5 and the 10 or the 10 and the 20. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a line right here. Do you see that fraction 15 over 10? And I can put a line here. Do you see that fraction x over 20? It's all already set up for me. So I'm just going to rewrite it. 15 over 10 equals x over 20. And then I'm going to cross multiply and divide. 10x equals 20 times 15. Now, I could guess that one, but I'm going to go ahead and work it out. 10, 3, 300, divide by 10, divide by 10, and that came out really nice because I got rid of a lot of the zeros, and I'm end up with my answer. It's 30. It doesn't say 30 what, so we're just going to be happy with 30. All right, guys, gave you about every situation that you're going to run into. Please look back at your notes when you see problems like this and you don't know what to do in your assignment. Look at your notes, okay? Ask for help when you can, or when you need to, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.